Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome wherever in the world you are. How y'all doing today? So, Alana Peel and Sir Frank. Today we're going to build a glider, and I've got most everything here for it, but gonna need to run to the market and grab a couple things that I am missing that I'm not going to take the time to build. And let's see here. Do we have enough warp cells? We should. We have warp cells in both. Okay. Then we should have enough. All right, we're going to go to Market 6. Need anything from Aegis? Nope. I'm headed out to Market 6. Let's see here. Warp point. Gonna take a whole 6 warp cells. Okay.
Passengers immobilization starting.
Man, you are loud this morning.
Warp sequence initiated.
Oh. Well, even though you're at the market, I have the stuff already purchased and everything. I've already stopped. I'm already on my way. Thanks, though. By and look at the billboard. Okay, we'll see.
Warp sequence completed.
I saw some screenshots of some stuff you guys
Passengers
posted in
released.
Discord. Let's see here. Storage. It's such a pleasure to fly a good ship. I mean, you know. By the way, this ship that I'm building today, I'll make blueprints available pretty cheap for it, especially if it works out well. I mean, if it works out really crappy, then I'm not going to make blueprints available. You know what I mean. But Mykonos, hello. You say to do a flyby in Market 6. God, that sounds dangerous. You know? You 3,000 liters of fuel to fly 20 kilometers. Yeah, well, billboards are not known for their fuel efficiency. All right, well, it looks like I'm going to have a little bit of an atmosphere that I'm going to be doing. As close as I can before I hit the brakes. All right, I got to hit the brakes. I like that I can see some of the properties down there. Feels good. Yeah, we'll go look at the ships at Market 6 while we're here and see if we can find that billboard that you're talking about. It's always a pleasure to go see what people have done, what kind of crazy stuff there is out there. It's hard to miss. All right. I'll take your word for it. Wait, is it an advertisement for our org? I should should look and see if we got any applications. Finally had a successful mining run on an asteroid last night. All right, Squiz. That's great. Why am I not seeing anything on my radar? Oh man, my radar is not working. Whoa! Oh, there I see the thing. On top of that. Right. Base radar doesn't work in Atmo. Well, I thought that I had. Well, that's right. I got the. Anyway, I thought I had them both connected up to one chair, but maybe I haven't done that. I might need to rework that. I've got all these ships that I use, and then something changes, and it's just hard to catch up, to do everything. So it's all good though. All right. Let's see here. These warp cells. That's the container for them. This is my overflow stuff. We'll have enough room for all this. Container. Go ahead and use up a little bit of this. Oh, yeah, I didn't use hardly any fuel coming in, did I? Just a little bit. All right. So, yeah, I think I'll be able to find this. Let's see, I'm northwest of the tower. Look at that. This is interesting. I like this honeycomb look back here. So, yeah. Kind of nice. That's a really nice effect they got there. I like it. I approve. What color is that? That's a reflection, isn't it? Is this a fucking Christmas song? It is. Oh, I gotta fix that. I've got probably about 20 more hours of going through my music before I'm ready to start separating it out into categories. Right now I'm just playing one big category of all the music that I have that I can play on the show. And fortunately it has some Christmas stuff in it. Every once in a while I'm like, what is that? Yes, glossy selenium. Oh, no wonder that looks kind of unique. Because it is. Now, okay. I'm going to point something out with the design here. But this little leg here, do you notice that, like, it doesn't even come down far enough to work right. Yeah. That's kind of funky. It's almost like it should be right up here. And this should go up just a little bit. Yeah. Well, you couldn't put a medium in there, or you couldn't put the next size up in there and have it work right. I don't think. Anyway, selenium, very rare in anything. So it's interesting to see that there. I'm sure that's the billboard over there. We'll get over there. What is this? This is... You know what my first thought is? My first thought about this ship is small penis. Yeah. You know, what are they making up for here? Yeah. I dubbed that ship Small Penis. Mm-hmm. Wow, look at this thing. That's beautiful. Look at how they did that. Now that's the pods for AGG, right? That's a UF fin glider. That's an actual UF one. Oh. Oh, Braveheart is Starship launching today. What time is that launching? Do you know? How long until the launch? Soon? Like how soon? I think that I can actually rebroadcast that and not have a problem.
Oh yeah, another dragon boarding the train. All aboard? Choo choo.
Anna Gale, 6 months
Heyo.
as a sub. Window 8:30 to 9:30 Central. Okay. Panagale, 6 months as a sub. Here's 60 gold to everybody here in your honor. Thank you, thank you. All right, folks, I've got it up here. We're gonna watch this when it goes off. I think that we're gonna watch this on the show today. I think that they won't give me any crap about rebroadcasting it. And so I think we should watch this together on the show today. And so I'm gonna keep that up at the side. I think it'd be fun to talk about that and watch it. I've been to a SpaceX launch before, and it's amazing. I mean, it is a experience that everybody should do once in their lifetime. So, yeah. If there is no delay again, this is the launch of Starship. And this is the big one. This is the biggest, the biggest rocket ever launched. So I won't be able to do all their intro stuff that has music and everything, but I will be able to do the other stuff. All right. So how do they get this effect? How are they doing this effect here? It's an anti-grav pulsar, and then they put some stuff over it. That's really creative, really good. I see that they have put their brakes on the outside. This is a spacefaring ship. You got engines behind those velours. A lot of detail in all of this. I like it. I don't normally go inside people's ships, but I want to take a peek. Can't open that. All right, get me out of here. I don't want to get stuck in there. I like it. Little Millennium Falcon. Something else. Not sure. Let's see if I can get my stuff while I'm here. All right, very good. Got it. Wait. Got that stuff. We can go around looking at more ships, and we can find this billboard, which is that big thing over there. I'm sure of it. This looks interesting. It sits really high. I guess is fine. Old Cooter. Alright, old Cooter. Cyberdyne Systems. Oh. Yes. Little Terminator. That was Cyberdyne. Yeah, I worked with I did several short films with the guy who was Schwarzenegger's stunt double on the Terminator movies, and then he played Schwarzenegger or played Terminator in the live action stuff at Universal Studios, and great guy. I miss hanging out with him. I moved from Portland. He was a guy who would do anything. He is a guy who will do anything, and he at the same time is not. He's very humble and everything. I just yeah, he was a great guy to hang out with, and he was always willing to do any project. And what movie did I last see him in? I saw him in that Oscar-winning, maybe it wasn't an Oscar thing, it was something about slavery. He was one of the He was a slaver in the bar. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Oh, does that seem strange? I mean, this thing looks kind of unfinished, but those large guns up there, are they not impacting the performance of the guns by having them set so far back? Like, is it possible that they're cutting off part of where they can shoot? Because those are able to aim down some. Is that not getting in the way? Or do you just shoot through it? I don't know. I'm not versed enough in combat. That thing looks like it's a design model, like some of mine. Oh, and here's this beauty. Yeah, this, of course, is by Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he makes probably the most amazing ships for detail. Oops. Hit a button. Yeah, I recognize one of his ships. Anything up over here? Looks similar to one of mine. Another one of the ones from Obi-Wan Kenobi. Big thing go. Thought it was over here. Kaz, hello? There he is, way over there. So today, I think we're going to deviate a little bit from kind of the regular dual universe shows because Starship is launching today, and I think we're gonna. I think that I'm hearing some fireworks. I think that once they do the intro stuff on the stuff for Starship, that I can rebroadcast the launch of it, and without any problems. This is strange looking. So anyway, we're gonna look at it. We're gonna watch it on the show today. Hopefully it launches. It got scrubbed. The launch got scrubbed yesterday, or a couple days ago. Oh, this is this format is like the Eve ship. Oh, 1200 still happening? Oh yeah. Yeah, we're doing Eve. So Starship launch is in 20 minutes. They start the countdown and that'll last around an hour. So yeah, we're still doing Eve this afternoon. For sure. So, and I changed the schedule. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've changed the schedule just a little bit, weighing a little more in the favor of Eve. because there's more going on there right now. So this is a very interesting ship, and these are all adjusters. Not sure what to make of this ship. It's very artsy. Is this the front of it or the back of it? Is this a VTOL? I mean, gosh, that's got to be quite blocked there. It's its only big space engine. Another one over here. Yeah, this thing has to be VTOL. Very interesting. Ready for takeoff. Oh gosh, an old bomber art. Now let's go look over here. Good old Ronin with some extra cargo. And then yes, he's the one. It's Christopher firing off the stuff, right? Join Dragon's Assembly today. All right. Nobody's in, but it's so hard to see the fireworks. It's like I hear them, but not really seeing them. It's amazing you found a landing pad all to yourself. Oh, how did they go? Oh, saw that. That ship is such a beast. All right, let's go over to our shuttle. Heading back. This. Now, see, there's one big foot in the front and 3 small ones in the back. That looks kind of interesting. Interesting. Another interesting one. There's another. It's based off a UEF ship, isn't it? I think so. I think must have landed since I've been here. I remember it being here. Nice design. Not a very good landing job, but ship looks good. Right. We got our stuff. And let's see here. That'll save me a few warp cells. I can fit it in my nano pack. All right, warp beacon, Aegis Space Market. Then instructs. Destination. We're gonna build this atmospheric ship in space, which might turn out a little funky, but I don't know. We'll see. Big towers. Nothing like the Death Needles of old. I'm building the glider on my station. I should be able to do it all by numbers. And I'm going to transport it out to Talamai. Maybe we'll go to another planet. Yeah, it's Atmo only. I'm gonna go, or I could go to another close by planet and test it out there. Gotta float out far enough now. Even Alioth. We have to get further away. We'll be able to get to warp. This is not a super strong ship. It's just very functional. There we go.
Passengers immobilization starting. Warp Warp sequence initiated. Warp sequence completed.
That didn't take too long.
Passengers released.
There's Christopher. Man, how many warp cells does that take you? Woof. I don't think you would slow boat that thing. You must have spent millions to warp that thing out here. Only 174? Oh, that's not bad.
Oh yeah, another dragon boarding the train. All aboard! Choo choo.
Oh,
Oh, Legacy. 41 months as a sub. How about that? How about 1,230 gold? To everybody here. In your honor. Thank you for that, Legacy. Much appreciated. They were just casually flying in here. We're gonna watch the Starship flight test today. They're gonna take it into orbit. We're gonna bring that up after they do their intro stuff that has all the music and everything. The raid bot break. I don't know. Yes, it did. All right, I reset the raid bot. All right, so Squiz has a dungeon raid started. Exclamation point raid space 10 or higher in Twitch chat. You can get in on it. I'll join in on it in a minute here. We'll put 1 million in on the raid. Oh shoot, looks like I'm gonna come in over that other ship there. Alright, that may get me down there just perfect. We'll see. You guys remember that old video game called Moonlander? Some of you might remember it. This is what it feels like. It's the kind of stuff here for that. Trajectories and everything, landing down. It was an old Atari game, I think. It was in black and white. Arcade game that was in black and white. All right. Everything in there. The linked container. Switch over to my builder. Right. I should now have everything for this. Yep, I do. Excellent. Really hate how noisy this thing is. What's this thing called? DSAT tracker. have to. I think it will. Doesn't have any downward force. This is what ship that I salvaged. Alright. There, I can sit over there and be noisy. Alright. Guess we can work on building it right up here. No, equip to, oh, because it's an original. Yeah, okay, create a blueprint. Okay, so this is the Boca barge. And we're going to call this the Boca glider. So I'm going to have to make some modifications to this, and but this is it right here. It's a nice little ship. Here. Basically, it's a large, it is a large container, and we're going to replace that container. It's made so that it can hover with it is made so it's very strong on the hover. It's probably way too much, you know. So sorry about that. You know, we may modify this, we may change it around to be something different. I'm not sure, but this is kind of the base design that it's working off of. It's designed to be able to be like max weight in the cargo and still not smash into the ground with the hovers. I don't know. Let's take a look at, you know, some of the stats on it. Something's not working. It's colliding. All right. So Let's look at atmospheric flight engineer. Axis rotation. It's actually really good. Wow, that is very balanced. I am really surprised because I built this before I knew like what I was doing. And so I am surprised that it is actually so well balanced. All right, so high altitude lift is 0. Would be 2.5 G. All right. We also should put something in it. So actually what we're going to do is we're going to replace the container and we're going to replace a couple of things here first. Is that on the 03339? Yeah, so this was not built on the same principles as my last stuff. So how many tanks are there in there? Just the one. Fuel tank, excess 3. No, that's fuel intake. One, okay. Yep, so we're gonna watch the launch. So, yeah, I think we're going to watch this launch today. Now, we can't, the audio right now has music on it, so can't do that. But, yeah, we're, what, 30 minutes away from launch, something like that. Of Starship. So biggest biggest space rocket in the world. Biggest one ever. All right. Let's see here.
It's its second attempt at our first ever integrated flight test from Starbase, Texas. If all goes well, we hope to see our Starship spacecraft and Super Heavy booster, which we collectively call Starship,
I'm gonna put on
lift
my
off
headphones.
together for the first time in exactly 33 minutes from now. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kate Tice, Quality Systems Engineering Manager here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California.
And I'm Shiva Bharadwaj, a space operations engineer here at SpaceX. Now, if you've been following along, you'll know that we stood down from our initial launch attempt on Monday, and that was due to a frozen pressurization valve on the Super Heavy booster.
SpaceX teams investigated the issue and determined that this valve had some moisture in it, which caused the valve to freeze up when we were loading super chilled liquid oxygen into the booster.
Now, these valves are super important because we actually need a pressurant to go back into the tank as we consume propellant. And we actually use a pressurant that comes from the Raptor engines. It's heated down there and then put back in the tank. And so a frozen valve there would be a problem during the launch.
Yeah, and that's important. You can think of it like drinking out of a thin plastic water bottle. If you're chugging that water, it crinkles if you don't let air back into it. So we use hot exhaust gas.
I've been to one launch and it was amazing.
Refill that
Not of this
volume as propellant is depleted. So it was a great find by the Countdown, and that's why we have a countdown, is to allow us to find those issues prior to liftoff. So all of that being said, our teams learned a lot over the last 48 hours, and we are ready to give it another go. As many of you know, Starship is the latest and largest vehicle developed to date by SpaceX. It will be the world's most powerful launch vehicle once fully developed and have twice the thrust of the Saturn V rocket. But the key breakthrough with Starship is that it will be fully reusable and capable of carrying up to 150 metric tons of payload to orbit in a reusable configuration and up to 250 metric tons when expendable.
Now, for context, Falcon 9 is only partially reusable. We recovered the largest part of the rocket, that's called the first stage, but we don't recover the second stage. And Falcon 9's heaviest payload to date is just over 17 metric tons. So 150 to 250 metric tons on Starship is an order of magnitude greater in terms of the payload capacity.
Wow.
Now, for today's test, we will be
15 times larger
as we work towards transitioning Starship from a developmental into an operational program. And the primary objective today is to gather as much data as we can around the fully integrated vehicle. Now, while we have flown the Starship spacecraft in the past, it is going to be the first attempt of Super Heavy and the first opportunity for us to validate how the two vehicles operate together.
We are so excited for this. The purposes for today's flight, we will consider any data received that helps inform and improve future builds of Starship as a success. From a milestone standpoint, our main goal is to clear the pad. Every milestone beyond that is a bonus. The further we fly, the more data we can collect.
I wonder if we're going to see
does all go well,
it actually orbit today.
The Super Heavy to light up its 33 Raptor engines at the base of the vehicle and lift off, clear the pad away down from Starbase in Starbase, Texas, and then it'll go into ascent. About 3 minutes into its ascent, we're going to expect to see Super Heavy separate from the Starship. It'll perform a flip maneuver, and then it'll execute a boost back burn, and we're going to be targeting a hard landing in the Gulf of Mexico.
And while that's happening,
hard
we
landing.
hope to see Starship's 6 second stage engines ignite.
What does that
and
mean,
watch
splash
as
down in the
Starship
water?
coasts for about an hour at altitudes ranging between 150 and 250 kilometers before re-entering Earth's atmosphere and make its own hard landing in the Pacific Ocean about 250-ish kilometers offshore. Now, we are not really expecting many camera views
56,000 watching on
after
NASA.
separation.
Yes, well, there's
that is to say, if we even make it that
439,000
far.
people
but we do
watching
promise that whatever
here
views we do have,
on the
we will bring them
SpaceX
to you
channel.
live.
Yep, we have a couple of ground stations along the way, so if we are able to get good telemetry, assuming we make it that far into the ascent, then of course those will be available on the stream. And also worth mentioning today, like the whole just getting the vehicle off the pad is a complex endeavor. We are going to be trying to reduce complexity by attempting those hard water
Yeah,
landings
big
instead
deal.
of trying
You know,
a
500,000
normal landing like
people
you're used to on
watching.
Falcon 9.
Exactly. We are not attempting to recover these vehicles. So, yeah, hard landings in store for both.
Now, in a little bit, we'll take a closer look at the vehicle and the launch pad. But first, the teams have been doing a tremendous amount of work over the last few months. In fact, there's a great shot of our Hawthorne team up here bright and early to watch the launch. Teams have been prepping really for the last few days, especially to try to get in today's launch attempt.
And here you can see a live view of the South Padre Amphitheater, where both SpaceX employees, friends and family, and members of the public are gathering to watch Starship lift off. And we can see the crowds are gathering there as well. And of course, we want to give a shout out to the SpaceX team.
Yeah, if
We
I,
see them there on screen.
You know, if this were taken
members
off from
of our
Florida,
Launch
this
Command,
would be one that I would
excuse me, our
consider
Star
going
Command
to.
Center, that is our Starbase Launch Control Center.
Yep, those are the operators today who are going to be reviewing all the data and, of course, giving us the go, no-go poll, checking the status to try to get in today's launch attempt just around 27 minutes from now.
And one thing I do want to mention, I misspoke. It's not the South Padre Amphitheater, it's the Cameron County Amphitheater.
Now, the entire Starship structure on your screen is made from stainless steel. When it's stacked, it stands about 120
steel.
meters tall. It's about 9 meters around. And we have this awesome video that shows you just how big that is. You can see one of our technicians there doing some final prep work in advance of today's test. And man, there's the 120-meter monster.
The person just keeps getting smaller and smaller. Now, just like Falcon 9, Starship has 2 stages, which we'll talk more about those in a minute. In addition to those 2 stages, Starship actually has a 3rd stage, which we call Stage 0. It consists of all the launch pad infrastructure built around the rocket, as you can see there on your screen, and it's truly an engineering feat in its own right.
Yeah, we've got a great shot there of the various different components of it. The pad, the infrastructure, all that is required to get into filling the tanks. Now, let's talk about the Super Heavy. Its name says everything. It's super, it's heavy, it's super heavy. When it's operational, it'll be responsible for providing the power to escape that mighty gravitational pull of Earth that we've got here and take Starship into orbit.
The booster itself stands about 70 meters tall and is roughly the same height as a fully integrated Falcon 9, which is just so crazy to me. But this Super Heavy booster has a diameter roughly 2.5 times that of Falcon 9, and with 33 much larger engines. We have a beautiful view here. This is one of my favorite views that we're going to get
love
today.
how this fits
Those are our
into,
33 Raptor engines at the
like,
base of the Super Heavy booster.
Yep, and you can see
This
they're
is so
in a
dual
couple of different
universe
rings
like.
here. So we've got the outer ring of 20 static engines. They're going to be providing a huge amount of thrust today to lift off the entire stack. But then we've got the 13 gimbaling engines in the middle, and they're going to be providing the tilt maneuvers and also helping to reorient the booster as it comes back later in today's flight.
Yeah, and when we say gimbal, it's basically tilting or almost wiggling the engines a few degrees and in either direction to allow the booster to steer itself, just as you said, Shiva.
And we'll get some great shots later of actually a wiggle test that we perform ahead of liftoff, just to make sure that all of those engines are able to control their full range of control authority.
One thing to note, those Raptor engines are completely designed and manufactured in-house. They are, as many of you know that have been following along, they are a reusable methane oxygen staged combustion type engine. So it's a lot of words there. And ultimately, that staged combustion means that we combust the propellant in stages. We kind of pre-combust them in a pre-burner, and by doing so, it allows the engine to be more efficient, i.e. more powerful.
Yeah. Now, like Falcon 9, the Super Heavy has 4 grid fins to assist with orienting itself in its return back to Earth. We got a shot of them there beneath
There's an
the
eclipse
Starship's
today as
aft
well,
flaps.
Drop Tech.
Now, as we talked about earlier, Super Heavy is not going to be attempting a land landing today, but with this flight test, we're still trying to get as much data as we can. We're focusing on the fundamental systems and operations, so that's the liftoff portion, but we are going to try to get some data on how the fins work and for that water landing that Super Heavy is going to be making after ascent.
I love that great view of the fins there. Now, Starship, or the spacecraft, is the second stage, and it makes up the top portion of the vehicle. It's designed for carrying passengers and cargo to Earth orbit and beyond. It stands about 50 meters tall, which is a little taller than
50
the
feet.
Statue of Liberty. It's comprised of 6 Raptor engines, 3 sea level and 3 vacuum engines, which are optimized to operate in the vacuum of space. And they provide a maximum of 258,000 tons of thrust in vacuum. Spacecraft is also outfitted with 4 flaps to help aerodynamically control the vehicle's attitude, which you can see those 2 forward flaps there on your screen now. So they help control the vehicle's attitude during atmospheric flight and enable precise landing at the intended location.
Look at all that gas
Now,
down
one
there.
thing we got to mention, the heat shields. They are iconic. Starship is wrapped in a heat shield, which is composed of 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles designed to insulate the vehicle during that atmospheric entry. And that's really important because the temperatures can be as high as 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit. The hex-shaped tiles, like the ones that Shiva and I have, roughly make up about 2/3 of the vehicle. We can see that we have some different shapes. Mine is slightly curved. As you can imagine, it sits on the curved portions of the Starship vehicle.
Now, the one that I've got is a hexagonal tile that's more flat, and it's really used for the flatter structures on the vehicle. And we need a heat shield because when you're coming back in from re-entry, we're going supersonic, we're compressing all the air ahead of us. That ends up causing a lot of heating along the surface, and without a heat shield, that would go straight into the structure.
Yeah, one thing that's amazing to me, especially when I first picked up one of these heat shield tiles, is that they're so light. They almost feel like they're made out of foam. They're that light, and they kind of sound like it too. And one thing that we do want to mention, in order to reject the maximum amount of heat during that entry, like Shiva was just saying, they're black, and that's because black helps reject that heat that is building up on the
Really?
exterior of the
Black
heat shield.
rejects heat.
Now, Starship is designed for vertical takeoff and landing as opposed to taking off and landing like an airplane. And that's because that's really important because we don't have runways on the moon or Mars. Fortunately, at those destinations, the gravity is not as high as it is here on Earth. On Mars, the gravity is just 1/3 of what it is here on Earth, and on the moon, it's just 1/6. So in both of those cases, Starship, with just its engines, can take off without needing the super heavy booster like we do need here on planet Earth.
Now, for today's test, Starship does not have its landing legs attached because,
is
like we
live.
said
The
before,
last one was
it won't
scrubbed.
be returning anywhere. Starship is expected to make a very hard ocean landing, which, if we even make it that far and manage to get any views, it will certainly make for a very exciting end to today's test. At this point in time, we are 20 minutes, or just over 20 minutes from liftoff. Let's check in with John Innsbrucker for a status update. Hey, John, how's it looking?
Might have
Thanks,
to get
Kate.
popcorn.
I'm John Innsbrucker, Principal Integration Engineer here at SpaceX. We're currently loading propellant from the ground system into both the first and second stages. Now, both vehicles use the same 2 propellants. That commonality helps build the reliability. And the fuel today is liquid methane, and that's at a temperature of just over 100 kelvins. That's about minus 272 degrees below zero on the Fahrenheit scale. Now, liquid methane is a different fuel from Falcon 9. That booster uses RP1 kerosene. However, our oxidizer is liquid oxygen, and that's the same as Falcon 9. Because there is no oxygen in space to support combustion, we have to bring our own. Now, leading up to where we are right now, we had a go-no-go poll. That was conducted just after T-minus 2 hours. And once the team gave their goes, we started loading propellants onto the booster at T-minus 1 hour and 39 minutes. At T-minus 1 hour and 22 minutes, we began propellant loading of the ship. The second stage you can see on your screen right there. Now, propellant loading of the Starship's second stage main tanks completed at about the T-minus 27-minute mark, at which time we then began loading the 2 header tanks in the nose of the second stage. Now, at T-minus 3 minutes, when the first stage super heavy propellant loading completes, that means we'll have all the propellant on the rocket, and the vehicle will be fully loaded with over 10 million pounds of propellant.
10
Now,
million
right now,
pounds
at
of fuel.
T-minus 19 minutes and counting from liftoff, the weather and winds are looking good. We have been watching the ground level winds. They're at 18 miles an hour. as the morning continues, they will increase, but that is below our limits right now. We're also looking at upper altitude winds. We're waiting for one more balloon, but we believe that we're going to be go. On the launch vehicle itself, the teams, the good news, they're not working any issues right now. But if for some reason we do not make our test flight today, if we have to hold, we have a backup launch window. However, we're not sure when it would be. It could be 24 or 48 hours after today. It'll depend on how far we get into the countdown. But right now, heading for a T0 at 8:28 Central, 13:28 Universal Time. Kate, everything is looking good.
Awesome news. Now, in order to make life multiplanetary, we need a fully reusable vehicle that's capable of carrying a huge amount of cargo and a lot of people to orbit and have a pretty quick turnaround. The idea is to effectively reuse launch vehicles just like airplanes.
Yeah, imagine if you had to wait for a new airplane to be constructed every time you wanted to fly. You'd rarely go anywhere, and for most of us, it would be completely unaffordable. In order for us to get to Mars and back with lots of people, lots of cargo, multiple times, reusability really is a must.
In advance of our first missions to Mars, Starship will execute a number of missions with both cargo and people, starting with Earth orbit and eventually expanding to the Moon and beyond.
Now, in the near term and a bit closer to home, Starship will also be critical to other programs. Once fully operational, it'll deliver the full-size and upgraded version of our Starlink satellites, and that's super exciting because our next-generation satellites represent a step forward in Starlink's capabilities and will allow us to connect millions of more people around the world with high-speed internet to watch launch
Interesting.
webcasts.
Pez machine.
Such an exciting future ahead of us, but first, let's talk a little about how we got to where we are today.
Now, Starship's testing ramped up in July of 2019 with our Starhopper prototype, sort of a short version of the Starship that we see today. There's a great photo of it. It was just over 18 meters tall. It had a single Raptor engine, and we had it to test fly and perform low-level altitude maneuvers and attempt landing. The initial test flight, or hop, reached about 20 meters in altitude. That was followed by the one that you've got on your screen here. This was our 150-meter altitude hop. We went up, took a little jaunt away, about 100 meters or so away from the launch pad, used that Raptor engine to fly and actually land. And actually, this hopper is actually down at Starbase now.
Yeah, I love this shot. It's just so fun to see it fly. After a series of 150-meter hop tests with earlier prototypes, the Starship program saw a major breakthrough during a test flight of the vehicle known as serial number 8, or SN8. You can see it there on your screen now. In December 2020, SN8 demonstrated a first-of-its-kind controlled aerodynamic descent and landing flip maneuver. 2 words, belly flop. The SN8 prototype rose to an altitude of 12.5 kilometers or 7.8 miles and conducted a belly flop maneuver, which you see there, during its descent. While it didn't stick the landing, the test was a major milestone in the development of Starship. In fact, we should be able to see that unfortunately failed landing. Boom. It was fun to watch, though.
Rapid unscheduled disassembly, but learned a lot of data. Now, the testing
Rapid
continued
unscheduled
on to prototype
disassembly.
serial number 9.
Is that a
It
real
took
technical
a
term?
10-kilometer flight. It's about 6.2 miles up. In February of 2021, we had a nominal ascent. We executed the engine cutoffs once we got to the top of the altitude window. We did that belly flop maneuver, which is so much more fun to say than controlled descent, aerodynamic maneuver. That was all stable,
Real
but
term.
unfortunately, we had a dramatic end on this flight as well. We had a failure on one of the engines that resulted in another pretty large fireball. But what was really cool about both of those flights was how much we learned just between serial numbers 8 and 9 and how quickly we were able to achieve our primary objectives in those 2 flights. In addition to that, we got so much data that demonstrated control of the vehicle in that subsonic regime.
Ultimately, we performed
680,000
9 Starship
people
high-altitude
watching
test
now.
flights in total. And then, as you see on your screen there, in May of 2021, SN15 launched from Starbase, reached an altitude of about 10 kilometers, performed a number of maneuvers, and safely returned to the launch site. This was the first Starship prototype to fly, control its descent, safely land, and be recovered in one piece.
And people were cheering like crazy
I was
after
one of
that
them.
test flight. Now, having achieved those successes in our suborbital campaign, one of the next big challenges is for the upper stage when it comes to reusability and surviving the hypersonic, really high heating phase of entry. Combined with the later ability to refill Starship's tank with propellants, the fuel and oxygen, while we're on orbit, that will enable us to have a fully reusable transportation system that's designed to carry both crew and cargo on long duration missions, interplanetary flights, and will help humanity get to the moon, travel to Mars, and
I'm
beyond
surprised they're
in
so
our
close
solar
to the
system.
water.
This is all just
That
basically
would all flood during
our
hurricane.
path of progress, basically an iteration on each vehicle, and that iterative process is a core part of how we work here at SpaceX. We like to test early and often, publicly as well in our case, and that's both for hardware and software. And while it doesn't always go as expected, we learn so much from it, and it informs our next attempt.
Yeah, we learn a lot from actually putting the vehicle through flight-like tests. Even the test on Monday gave us an opportunity to learn more about the vehicle into today's launch attempt, and so far things are looking really good. Now, we are continuing into our countdown. We're about T-minus 12 minutes to go. I think it's a perfect time for another check-in with John Insparker. How's it going, John?
Well, Shiva, the good news is that the nets are quiet. The teams are currently working. No significant launch vehicle issues. You can see the T clock there on your screen, T-minus 12 minutes, 10 seconds, and counting. Propellant loading is continuing on both the Super Heavy and the ship stages. You can see the graphic on the left-hand side of the screen. Most recently, we began loading liquid oxygen and liquid methane fuel into the header tanks on Starship. Those are two small tanks just underneath the nose of the second stage. Now that started at T-minus 27 minutes. That'll be wrapping up at about that will be wrapping up about T-minus 9 minutes. Now the Starship second stage main fuel and LOX tanks are loaded for flight right now. The Super Heavy first stage booster propellant loading is continuing, and that'll go till about T-minus 3 minutes. We're underway with engine chill as we get ready for T0, and we're also configuring the launch pad for liftoff. The booster hold downs have been unlatched. They'll be ready to retract at liftoff. And the second stage quick disconnect is beginning its configuration for release. The methane and liquid oxygen propellants currently going to the second stage go through that quick disconnect. That's that arm that reaches out from the tower to the base of the second stage. The SpaceX team continues to check in with the Coast Guard. Good news is we've not heard any reports of boats in the safety perimeter as the launch vehicle heads out over the Gulf of Mexico. So right now, T-minus 10 minutes, 40 seconds, and counting. Everything
they're gonna
continues to
splash
go
this
well
thing
for
down.
an on-time launch.
So
Now, today's test
I guess
flight
no
is
boats.
taking place out of our Starbase facility in South Texas, and that test site has gone through a huge amount of development over the last couple of years.
One thing I want to point out, this is a great view from our drone. Not only can we see the pad, but in the fog, kind of in the distance, in the background and to the left of the pad, you can actually see our production facility, which is the other part of Starbase in addition to the launch pad.
Of course, as part of rapidly iterating with our test program, we're also rapidly iterating on our production system to produce Starships and Super Heavies. Last year, the Starbase team produced 4 Starship Super Heavy boosters and 5 Starships, along with their 200th Raptor 2 engine, and they're only scaling up from there, Kate.
Yeah, it's incredible to think that for 2023, production has 5 boosters and 8 Starships going. So it's incredible. And it's important to have that system fill in basically the manufacturing line so that we have product ready to go as soon as we're done with this test.
Yeah, exactly. And ultimately, I mean, we talked about how Starship is an order of magnitude more payload to orbit. But if you're gonna
When
go
I went
set up
to
a
the
base
launch of
on the
Inspiration
moon or
4,
Mars, you're gonna need thousands of metric
it
tons of
was-
propellants, and so you're gonna need a fleet
It was
of
pretty
vehicles capable
spectacular,
of doing that.
even though it was a couple miles
Yeah,
away
one
from
thing
it.
to note, Starbase directly employs more than 1,800 employees. It's the largest employer in the area, in fact. And we're very thankful to Cameron County for being so supportive. This is a view from the Cameron County Amphitheater. And there's a crowd there, and you could tell by the energy here in Hawthorne as well that everyone's getting really exciting. I feel my own heart rate going up and up.
I know it must be really, really exciting to go see this. And I mean, just the sheer amount of power on Starship, you're gonna feel it down there when this thing lifts off from the pad. We've actually got a great shot here of the natural surroundings around the pad. Oddly enough, most of the pads end up being around sort of wild locations like this. But coming up on T-minus 8 minutes, I think it's another good time for check-in with John.
Thank you, Shiva. T-minus just over 8 minutes to the first test flight of Starship. Currently, we are pressurizing second stage. We are also closing out liquid oxygen and fuel header loads on the second stage. We're also getting ready for propellant load tank pressurization on the first stage. In fact, we are just now closing out header tank load on the second stage. Now with the header tanks loaded and closed out, that means we're down to just the first stage to finish loading. That'll finish.
I really
about
like how SpaceX
T-minus
broadcasts
3
all of
minutes.
these. I
And at
know
that
it
point,
benefits
when both
them,
stages
but
are loaded, we will
it's
have the
something
10 million pounds of liquid propellant on board.
that we just don't see from the
Now,
government
in the next few
agencies.
minutes, the guidance system will begin its final alignment for flight during a quiet period when the rocket's not doing anything. The automated flight termination system will be armed, and a final TVC checkout will be performed. Those are the engine wiggles, and hopefully we'll be able to see that with the cameras underneath the vehicle and maybe even the second stage engines. And there's a view looking underneath the super heavy first stage with the 33 Raptor engines.
Does that camera just
Now,
get burned
reminder
up?
as we continue counting down, if we
When
do
it
need
takes
to
off?
hold, the point where we hold the clock would be at T-minus 40 seconds. We can pause there. Typically in the past, if we need a little bit more time to finish final checkouts or do some pressurization of the onboard storage tanks, that's where we would hold. But currently, we're not hearing a need to hold, so at 6 minutes, 27 seconds, everything looks good. And of course, Kate Shiva, as we get close, we're going to get into the engine ignition sequence of 33 Raptors, and that's going to be something new for everybody.
I cannot wait for that moment. So for those of you that are familiar with how we launch Falcon 9 rockets, you probably know that we light all 9 of those first stage Merlin 1D engines all
They
at
send
once.
George to remove the
It's
camera
pretty
1 minute
different
before
than
launch,
what we do,
right.
or what we're attempting to do today. We're actually going to be igniting those 33 engines in banks or clusters, and that sequence starts at T-minus 6 seconds.
Yeah, and the ignition sequence is a little bit different, both in terms of the timing and also the ignition method. So on Falcon 9, we use a chemical called TTAB. It's a pyrophoric material, so that means when you mix the two together, it produces a flame that kicks off that green characteristic spark on Falcon 9 missions. But actually on Starship, we use electrical ignition systems. Many of those are integrated on the ground system here. And the electrical ignition, we start lighting the banks at T-minus 6 seconds, and then over the next 4 seconds, the 3 sets of banks will ignite and eventually bring the booster up to a thrust to weight greater than 1 and hopefully ascent.
Super exciting. Like we said, pretty different from our Falcon 9 launches, and so this will be the first time that any of us have gotten to see this type of integrated test flight with both the Starship and the Super Heavy booster.
Everyone's cheering as we get into T-minus 5 minutes.
We want to remind everyone that success today is anything.
Yeah, it looks fun down there. I
It
kind of want to
sure
go join them.
For today, success is anything that we learn that helps improve the future builds of Starship. If we lift off and clear the pad, we're calling that a win.
A great shot of the pad there.
It's a win if they
great
even
shot
get
of
off the
quick
pad.
disconnect
All right.
on the second stage. You can see the frost line on the booster where that methane is fully topped up. I think we're just coming up on the last few minutes here of propellant fill on the booster. And that quick disconnect is going to separate away as we actually get into the ignition sequence, but it's providing electrical connections now and also providing the propellants that we're loading.
If you're
into
just
the
joining us,
vehicle.
this is live.
Yeah. We're just now
Starship
under 4
is
minutes until
just about
liftoff
to
of
blast
the
off.
Starship flight test. We've been following along.
Just short of a million people
what
watching on
honestly
YouTube.
Seems like days and days now, but really it kind of comes down to years. It
Yeah.
has been a long time to get to where we are today. Now, fast forwarding a little bit, we have the opportunity to hold, if necessary, at 40 seconds, and we are able to hold there for about 15 minutes, or up to 15 minutes, and still be able to lift off.
Yeah, and that's a little bit different from Falcon for the propellant sequence on Falcon that we don't have the opportunity to hold. So that's a cool new capability on Starship.
Right now, T-minus 3 minutes, 10 seconds and counting. We got some great views from the drone. It's nice that the fog is slowly lifting. We get some of the blue skies, hopefully good views. What we're waiting for right now is closeout of propellant loading on the first stage. That should be wrapping up here shortly. In fact, it looks like fuel fill and drain valves are coming closed. That means first stage is fully loaded, second stage fully loaded. Now
Drop
10
tech.
million pounds of
Thanks
propellant
for the
on board
309.
the Starship launch vehicle.
I want to take a quick moment to say that the crowd energy here is electric. I feel like it's Falcon Heavy test demo all over again.
And hopefully you'll hear us
Gold
as
for everybody
we get
here.
into the plus count. But right now, next activity is coming up. The flight termination system arms at
309
T-minus 2
gold,
minutes.
everybody here in Drop Tech's
Prospector
honor.
control checkouts at T-minus 2 minutes. And then after that, major activity will be the T-minus 40-second gate. There's a view looking up at the 33 Raptor engines. There are 20 engines in a circle on the outside, and as Shiva said earlier, 13 engines on the center. Those are the ones that gimbal and steer the vehicle.
I don't think I've ever seen someone so excited for TVC wiggles.
Love this view. These are the 33 Raptor engines at the base of the Super Heavy booster. I think we can see those wiggles now.
We're currently inside 90 seconds. Next major activity, T-minus 40 seconds. That is a gate, a decision point. We're waiting. Possibility the propulsion team may need a few minutes.
Breath, yeah. This is cool.
Flight termination system is armed for flight. We're getting ready
1.2
for
million
T-minus
watching.
1 minute and counting. No, T-minus 1 minute and counting.
I turned off all the alerts on the stream
Next, we'll
so
see
that
as we get past T-minus 40
we don't get
seconds
something
for
coming
final
up over
checks
the
of
top of
vehicle.
this. All right, they made it past 40 seconds. That's fine, Drop Tech. I turned it off now. It was a reminder,
Okay, you can see
pre-reminder.
the clock has recycled.
Uh-oh.
Flight director has called a hold. We are
Uh-oh.
recycling. For the moment, we'll see where they move the clock back to. They could hold at T-minus 40 seconds. They could go to an earlier point. Give us a minute to listen into the nets, and we'll see if we can get you more information to share.
Ugh. Fly to, it's, I think it's, is it in orbit? Though they did say that they can hold now up to 15 minutes while they check additional things with this this ship. If they had done this with the other ones, then it would have been a hold of the whole launch, I think. The goal of this flight is just a test flight. Our goal is to just get it off the launch pad. Brand new rocket. It's the biggest in the world. It's can carry 15 times more payload than the next biggest one. So it's a generation step up. What they say, is it 450 feet tall, something like that? I know the first stage they said was 30 meters.
John Innsbrucker again here at the Hawthorne webcast desk. We're holding a T-minus 40 seconds. What we've heard so far is we have a couple of issues we're working. One is the booster tank pressurization. Final pressurization was just a little bit long. That's not unusual. We've held at T-minus 40 seconds before to pressurize. That appears to have been resolved. At the same time on the second stage, they're working some final purging. We should know very shortly if that is cleared and if we'll continue the countdown.
Oh,
Everyone, especially that person, is excited to keep going. Like John said, we should know shortly if we are able to continue. But as we mentioned before, we are able to hold up to 15 minutes and still be able to lift off today.
Yeah, on Falcon 9, it's a little bit different. Once we start propellant loading, we pretty much have to go at the targeted time. Otherwise, the propellants can warm up and we may not have the performance for that particular mission profile. It's a little bit different on
And
Starship.
folks, if I can interrupt,
Yeah.
it looks like they're clearing all the flags, and we're going to release at T-minus 40 seconds.
ooh, okay,
That
here we
is
go.
amazing news.
Amazing.
Team working quickly through their issues on first and second stages.
And I'm sure all of the rehearsals and simulations that they've been doing have prepared them to evaluate this data quickly to try to get us in for today's launch attempt.
For those of you just joining, we have a brief hold at the
1.4
T-minus
million
40
people
second
watching.
mark. The team is resolving one issue with the bleed purge on the Stage 2 Raptors. Like John just said, the teams are quickly working that, and it looks like the flags are being cleared as we speak. So we should be able to resume the launch countdown any moment now.
And it's worth noting on Starship that once we resume the countdown, it restarts from the 40-second period, and then we keep
Exactly.
going unless another condition pops up. So stick around because Starship could be going here real soon.
Don't walk away, that's for sure. Amazing views here coming to us from Starbase, Texas.
That cheering to close
There we
again.
go.
T-minus 15 seconds.
If we get past 10, it's a go.
10,
There we go.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3.
Wow.
Zero post-launch flight operations.
Oh, they have 3 engines that are not firing.
Booster upper chamber pressure is nominal.
T-plus 33 seconds into the test flight of the inaugural Starship vehicle. Tower cleared. We're into pitch over. Propulsion reports first stage engines nominal. What a sight from the ground cameras at Starbase.
Nominal.
We're flying at twice the thrust of the Saturn V heading to space.
Acquisition of signal, surface 50.
We're throttled down and throttled back up. Going through the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Is that the engines lit up there?
As the velocity increases,
Wow.
the density of the atmosphere is decreasing,
Look at that.
Max Q.
lessening stress on the vehicle. The call out, max Q now. Continuing to watch the first stage as we head down range. A 100 seconds into flight. Our next major activity is going to be
Acquisition
shutdown
signal,
of
Houston.
the first stage. The Houston tracking station now acquiring the vehicle. With shutdown, we will get separation of Starship from Super Heavy and ignition of the Starship engines. When Starship separates, we light up 6 engines in a staggered sequence. And if all goes well, those 6 engines will burn for almost 6.5 minutes. Onboard view from Starship. And there's views of the Raptor engines on the second stage as we prepare for stage separation. Now after stage separation, the first stage will flip and begin a boost back maneuver for landing in the Gulf.
Amazing.
Continuing to fly, 2 minutes 40 seconds. Let's get ready for main engine cutoff.
Booster engine cutoff.
Beginning the flip for stage separation.
Wow. Did it break apart? What's going on? That doesn't look right. Yeah, that's not looking right.
As of right now, we are awaiting stage separation, where Starship should separate from the Super Heavy booster.
Yeah, Kate, right now it looks like we saw the start of the flip, but obviously we're seeing from the ground cameras the entire Starship stack continuing to rotate. We should have had separation by now. Obviously, this is does not appear to be a nominal situation.
Yeah, it does appear to be spinning, but I do want to remind everyone that everything after clearing the tower was icing on the cake.
Oh, they blew it.
There, as you saw, as we promised, an exciting end to the Starship inaugural integrated test flight.
Wow.
Everyone here absolutely pumped to clear the pad and make it this far into the test flight, the first integrated flight of the booster and the Starship vehicle.
Live view there of our control center at Starbase, which we refer to as Star Command.
There's Elon.
As we said before, obviously we wanted to make it all the way through, but to get this far, honestly, is amazing.
Well, if you're just joining us, Starship just experienced what we call a rapid unscheduled disassembly, or a RUD, during ascent. But now this was a development test. This is the first test flight of Starship, and the goal was to gather the data, and as we said, clear the pad and get ready to go again. So you never know exactly what's going to happen, but as we promised, excitement is guaranteed. And Starship
That's
gave
pretty
us
cool.
a rather spectacular end to what was truly an incredible test thus far.
Now, as we mentioned at the start of today's program, any and all the data that we collected during the test is going to help us with further development of Starship, and it's going to improve the vehicle's reliability as SpaceX seeks to make life multiplanetary. It's really worth noting that the flight path was designed to be over water and all the air and sea space. Along with that flight path and those surrounding areas were cleared in advance of the test. And of course, we're going to be coordinating with local authorities for the recovery operations.
But honestly, what an exciting morning. Oh my gosh. We had a successful liftoff from Starbase,
All right.
Texas at 8:28 a.m. Central Time. We cleared the tower, which honestly was our only hope. We cleared the tower, and all the data that we collected all the way through all those Raptor, those 33, although I think we saw that 3 Raptor.
All right, so that's that is definitely cool. I do remember, you know, seeing one launch in person. Obviously, it nowhere near as big as this thing, but yeah, hella cool. So, all right, I'm gonna step away for just a moment, and then we'll continue on with building this ship here. Right back. All right, so that was exciting. Okay, so working on this ship here, and bring up my guide for stuff. We need to add wings to this. And I'm not sure yet how we'll do that. But actually what we need to do first is add some weight to it. And I wonder if I have any fuel in here. Do not. Okay. So we'll get 200,000 fuel. That'll be about max weight this thing could ever be expected to carry. Well, actually, we're going to need a little bit more than that, aren't we? Because I'm also replacing the container in it with a different one. Here. Place with an optimized. There we go. Let's access that. And that's got, wow. $500. This thing's never gonna fly this much weight in it. 1.12 kiloton. All right, so brake force should be over 5G. It's 3.87. Thrust. Uh-oh. Thrust is only 0.36. Thrust needs to be 1.3. I wonder if it needs to be higher so that you break atmosphere. Because we're not trying to break atmosphere with this. Low altitude lift 2.39. Okay, so that's just enough for this weight, the amount of hovers that we have there. Yeah, I wonder how this thrust is going to play out, because obviously, I mean, we may just have to say, okay, this really is only, you know, instead of the 1.12 kilotons or whatever it's got in it, this is a, you know, 400 ton, you know, payload, something like that, which makes a lot more sense. Right, so we need high altitude lift on. We got to connect this up. medium tank. Another port up here, that's for repairing brakes if you need to. So the brake force 3.87. As long as this thing glides really well, it'll be fine. So let's figure out some wings here or something. Medium wings. They're actually not very big. You hope it runs for an extra 30 minutes till 4:30ish. Yeah, I don't know. Drop Tech. It really just depends on how the content's going. I don't like stretching stuff out if things aren't. I don't want to be boring. Let me put it that way. All right. So I think that like I wonder how I want to do this. So I'm obviously going to need multiple of these. Putting them on the side down here, they're going to run into this stuff. Like, that's going to add 0.16, and God, we need over 2.5. Now the thing is, this is not gonna be heavy like this all the time. All right, I'm gonna switch tactic here, and let's see here. That is the orange. This. That is right in the center, right? Yes. Okay. making sure. So dark down here. Got my light on, right? Yeah. Man, I can't hardly see that. And I'm out here under this, but I'm still having basically I'm building a column here for placing wings up on it in kind of a ridge. But I'm kind of thinking, I don't know if that's going to work or not, but what I'm trying here. Build them this way. You know, it might look a little awkward or something, but I have a plan. We'll see how it works out. It may not work out at all. It's so hard to see this stuff right here. I got this big ass light on here and I just have a hard time seeing this stuff. 0.13. Right. Put us kind of close there. God, I can't see right there. Pissing me off. I got all this light turned on and I can't see. Right. Two 2.24 high altitude lift. That's pretty good, I think. It's too wide. This maybe is a little goofy. I don't know.
Here we go.
Okay, how do I get this to do this right? There we go. I don't know. It may look a little ugly. I mean, it does kind of look ugly. All right. Oh, 239K in the back end. a little bit like a hodgepodge. This game, pretty popular. Can get some PvP in it. So the PvP is not as good in here as it is in like Eve. Not even close. PvP in here is very different, and it can be fun, but there's probably not enough action going on with that right now. There is a big PvP release coming out. I don't know when it's coming out, if it's the next release or if it's something later, but there is a heavy focus on PvP coming out. It's just not here right at this moment. So right, I'm gonna put a light on here for the moment. I really need to be able to see better. God, I can't believe how... Okay, so I'm obviously having troubles with... light on this because I want to see this better, but yet I put these lights here and it's still hard to see. Now, why does that look so funky? Oh, why do these have a gap in them? They're all wrong. Okay, I'll have to fix that. Kind of a funky ridge line there, but whatever. I can't say I'm totally happy with how this looks, because I'm not. Let's go in further. Nope. Doesn't look terrible. Yeah, it doesn't look terrible, but balance on it is off. We got 228K in the back. If I put the ailerons up here, they're gonna be in the way of the wings. Take care, Christopher. Surprised that none of these are reporting as blocked, in all honesty. That front one, just one front one. There's it's only 1% obstructed. I'm pretty amazed that yeah, I'm kind of surprised that it's not. Well, it's probably good enough for a test flight. Test flying this though, so like, where do I test fly it? It's almost kind of like, maybe I fly it out to Alioth, and then I test fly it on Alioth, and then I can buy parts for it if I need to fabricate something. Alioth also is, the highest gravity, and I really don't like how that ridge looks for the wings, but it's either that or just a tall stack, on the back end, because I need those wings, and they can't go down lower in the body because they're going to obstruct with the stuff on the sides, unless I took off the side hovers. But the side hovers really are necessary if we're going to carry any sort of weight in it. If I take half the, let's put it down to more of a weight, like what's really going to be in it. So take it down to this, and 40%, it's 500 tons. The max thrust is 0.79. Brake force is 8.55, which is good. Low altitude lift 5.28, high altitude lift 5.48, which the high altitude lift only needs to be 2.5 G, but the theory being here is that with this many wings it'll glide, and so more fuel efficient and better for scoping stuff out. I guess setting this up for Alioth is the way to go, and I take my shipbuilder with me. I think that's going to be the way to go. Really interesting. Okay. So I've got to take that other light off of this. Weird, now it's down lower than those. $18.50. 250. 01850. 3450.5. $44, 18. Right. Maybe it's just a visual thing. Alright, let's go connect up to the... We're going to take a bunch of fuel with us. And we're going to take a bunch of scrap with us. I may indeed crash this. Gonna take some cores. Take a large with me. What's the chances of me running along a large wreck? I mean, I guess. Yeah, very low chance of a large wreck. Yeah. But I also don't, you know. Well, so I've got a little bit of each. We'll see. I'll be prepared. Let's take one of each large. This is kind of proof of concept. If it works, great. You know, we'll blueprint it, bring it back. I'll build another one and then refine it from there and leave this one out on the planet. Probably what I'll do. You want to build a glider now? Yeah, well, I'll give you a copy of this. Wait, which ship is going to take this? All right, put him on there. What's in this thing? There's plenty of fuel in it. Fueled up. It appears to be all fueled up and ready to go. Sweet.
Shield deactivated.
Yeah, they kind of bounced. All right. It's up there.
Shield deactivated. All right. 43-minute trip, huh? No, I guess that's what we're doing. Alright. Well, here we go. I got my my flight or my shipbuilder guy on board, so can make adjustments. We're just slow boating it out there. What I'll end up doing is using my pilot that I'm flying here to fly the glider, and then Then from there, I'll have my shipbuilder on board on it so that I can switch over to him and do some stuff if I need to. Oh, you know what it's missing? I already know what it's missing. It's missing radar. It needs to be able to see the stuff. That's what this whole thing's about. I also will have to reconfigure the seat and everything. So there is more work to be done on it. Alright, it'll be easy enough to buy a radar out there. That's why I'm going to Alioth. Also because it's 1.0 gravity. I do not have a claim anywhere on Alioth. And so we end up landing it on somebody else's property probably. All right, so it's going. It's autopilot. It's going to one of the Frank, you have claim 10 kilometers from 6. Oh, well, I'll be happy to park there. Just shoot me the coordinates sometime in Discord. I'm not, doesn't have to be right now. So, because I'm not going to make it down onto the planet on the show today. Just not going to be enough time. So, VR Dragon Assembly Pad. Okay. So, yeah, that'll be good. I'll park there then. And so all right, well, I guess this will be pretty much it for Dual Universe today. We're going to do Eve in a little while after lunch. And so there is a Dual Universe giveaway up if you didn't already get in on it. The giveaway, though, will draw on Saturday on the show. On Saturday, and it's for a 1-month code for the game if you want to get in on that if you haven't already. And then we'll be doing Eve this afternoon, and should be good. See what kind of trouble we can get into. So, all right, that's going to be it then for right now. I'm going to go have some lunch, and then I will see y'all in a little while.
Life